Hey guys, how's it going? Just recorded a 34-minute video. Just got deleted off of the page. Unbelievable. Let me give you some key stats, though, for the Saints-Eagles game. Saints held the football last three quarters of the game. They held the ball about 35 minutes to about 10. 35 minutes to 10 minutes, maybe, the rest of the game. It was absolutely incredible. They only held the ball about 4 minutes in the first half. So that means it was 33 minutes out of the 45 were New Orleans Saints. So literally the Eagles only had the ball the last three quarters of the game, 8 minutes in total. So the time of possession was wild. The Saints were 8 of 15 on third down. Drew Brees was just a magician on third down throughout the entire game. It was one of the greatest quarterbacking performances that I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to quickly go over the wild card because who the hell knows what this computer it might not save. I was extremely disappointed by the Dallas Cowboys, and I was dead wrong on this team. I thought this team was mature enough to go on the road. I thought this team had a good defense that would travel on the road. Apparently it didn't. They don't have the linebackers. They don't have the defensive tackles. They don't have the maturity yet to go on the road and to produce on the road and execute. You know, the moment got too big for them defensively. And if I was going to tell you a unit that I was most comfortable with the Dallas Cowboys, it would have been their defense and their defensive line and their linebacking core. And they were freaking awful and terrible. You got to give credit to the LA Rams and Sean McVay. I mean, Sean McVay and that team, they had to sit through a whole year waiting to get back to host a playoff game because they had that Atlanta game swarming over their heads. And finally, they get the monkey off of the back. They get the first playoff win at the Coliseum and the first for Sean McVay. But I was stunned how bad the Cowboys were guarding C.J. Anderson. And I didn't read much into the Colts game because I was like, Colts game, middle of November, who gives a shit? You've locked up the NFC East. Who cares if Marlon Mack runs all over you? But apparently that was a sign that literally the Cowboys just cannot play outside of home. And even though they're a good home team, when they go on the road, they don't definitively beat people and they don't definitively stop the run. And maybe Van Der Esch and all those guys hit a rookie wall and got tired. And maybe they just got tired and their defense just doesn't travel that well. I still look at the Cowboys, and the Cowboys need a couple defensive tackles. The Cowboys can also use some more blocking up front, I think, for Zeke Elliott to be an even more dominant offensive line. And I think that they can use some defensive tackles. I don't think that Taco Charlton was very good. I think that they need some dynamic guys. I don't think that Jeffrey Simmons will be going to the first round. Giving the Cowboys, now that they don't have a first-round pick, it sucks because they could have drafted Justin Simmons or Jeffrey Simmons from Mississippi State, who would have been an absolute star for the Dallas Cowboys. And if you have a Chris Jones, if you have a Simmons inside, if you have a Fletcher Cox player, then that can take them into being a championship team if they get that defensive tackle that can just close on the run. Because then you have DeMarcus Lawrence, you then have Smith, Van Der Esch, you have Byron Jones, and then in that secondary, try to maybe get a very good free safety. If possible, get a safety that can actually play at a really high level. And then your corner, just get the other cornerback to be pretty good. But you have Chidobe Awuzie and Jordan Lewis. So overall, the team has some talent. The Dallas Cowboys have talent. They're also keeping their coaching staff in continuity. I was wrong about this team because I thought that they could do it this year. I thought they can go to L.A., and I thought that they would shut down the running game, play aggressive defense, and keep the momentum where it needed to be for this football team. But apparently I was dead wrong. I was dead wrong on the Cowboys. They suck defensively. And I can't believe I'm saying that the Cowboys let up 270 yards to C.J. freaking Anderson, who looks like Jerome Bettis, who made him look like Jerome Bettis. He weighs 330 pounds, slow as molasses, but somehow with Sean McVay, he's able to create these run gaps for the guy. and it was mind-boggling. It was frustrating as all heck. And Dak Prescott played well enough to win. Dak Prescott can win a Super Bowl. Dak Prescott's like Eli Manning in these playoffs. He's a guy that doesn't turn the ball over, makes big-time clutch throws. I mean, he hit some clutch throws to Michael Gallup. That throw rolling to his left was a thing of beauty. The Amari Cooper touchdown. He's in control. He's an accurate guy with the football. He can make plays. He's a playmaker when the game is on the line. And Dak Prescott is definitely good enough to win a championship. He's good enough to play at a high level. He can replicate his 2016 season now with Amari Cooper being there. Maybe even another weapon like an A.J. Brown or DeKalin Metcalf. And this Cowboys team, you get a receiver, you get a freaking defensive tackle first and foremost to stop the run and just be a run stuffer. This Cowboys team is going to be really freaking good, and they have the chance to possibly win the NFC next year, like get the #1 seed. They have quite a future, and Jason Garrett bought himself more time, and now keeping Chris Richard is such a huge deal. But I thought the Cowboys this year were going to be the champions, but apparently they were not good enough, and they're not mature at all. And going on the road, I did not know that their defensive tackles like Malik Collins were not good enough. I thought they were up to the task of defending the run. I thought Van Der Esch would be a star, and he was flat out awful. And I was wrong about the Cowboys. I thought their defense was elite, and I was so wrong, so much crow, so wrong about how good the Dallas Cowboys were. I thought their defense was ready this year, but they're not. They can't travel. They can't play defense on the road. Maybe next year they'll be able to go to places and play defense. But the thing that sucks next year is that the Dallas Cowboys are just going to be a great team, and they're going to possibly get home field advantage, and nobody's going to give me any credit for saying that they're any good next year. The only reason it was fun this year to pick this team was because nobody expected anything from them. And if they would have shocked the world, it would have been beautiful. But instead, no. The Kansas City Chiefs were my team, but the Indianapolis Colts played a terrible football game. What the heck happened to the Colts blocking in that game? I thought they were supposed to have one of the best offensive lines and keep Andrew Luck up. And D Ford and these no-name guys, Chris Jones and D Ford are good. But Kansas City is like rolling around Sorensen and, Eric Berry in the backfield. I know Fuller played, but the linebacking core is not that good. Like, you could get after Kansas City. Like, you could hit Kansas City. They're a 31st ranked defense. You have Marlon Mack. You're supposed to have balance. Frank Reich called a terrible game, and flat out just couldn't protect Andrew Luck in the third quarter when everybody knew they had to pass, and an embarrassing performance by the Colts. Frank Reich wasn't ready for the moment. Neither was the offensive line. They haven't been through it before. Kansas City's a team that has a lot of experience. They failed in the playoff last year, but that experience is really valuable for this team. And take the experienced team. I mean, Anthony Lynn's not experienced either. He got exposed badly in his playoff game to the Patriots. Exposed. The Saints are a playoff team. They competed with the Vikings last year. They're battle tested. That game with Minnesota taught them to be battle tested. And Drew Brees 14-0 down. He was battle tested. And what Drew Brees did in that game, he was flawless on third down. One of the greatest quarterbacking performances I've ever seen live. Every 3rd and 10 was Michael Thomas. Every single time. Kirkwood, every intermediate pass he hit. He was ridiculously good in that football game. He was stupendous, spectacular. He is better than Aaron Rodgers right now. Because Aaron Rodgers, when he played Seattle, and Seattle gifted him the 4 interceptions, he didn't cut their heart out. That was the one game Aaron Rodgers should have had back, because if Aaron Rodgers Green Bay wins that game, they go to another Super Bowl, and then Aaron Rodgers is already like Kurt Warner. He could have already been 1-1 in Super Bowls, or he possibly could have even beaten that Patriots team. We would have gotten Rodgers Brady. Point is, with these NFL playoffs, everybody was talking the Chargers up all year, and I was dead right that the Chargers were nothing but frauds. The Chargers were frauds, it turned out. I mean, I know that they beat the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson, could barely still throw. But everybody was saying Gus Bradley, this team is dangerous, this is going to win the AFC. They were right there. They had a game scheduled, a divisional round playoff game scheduled. They have talent defensively. And what happened? You have Melvin Gordon, you have Derwin James, you have Bosa, Ingram, Casey Hayward, guys in the secondary, Desmond King, and they come out, Antonio Gates, Phillip Rivers has been there before, but the coach hasn't, and Gus Bradley and them got exposed playing that cover 3 defense that just allows all the underneath stuff to the running backs with James White, and they're playing all these extra defensive backs, and they're little, and McDaniels just run circles around them, and the Chargers just can't adjust on the fly against the elite of the elite with the Patriots. So the fact is, I'm never going to give the Chargers credit about winning the AFC until I see it. The Chargers have had time after time, chance after chance to get into these AFC playoffs and do damage, but their ownership, their coaches, they're flat out just not as good as the New England Patriots. They are not even close to being as good as Patriots. Even the Chiefs have a better formula. So now it's Andy Reid with an underrated defense that finally played great. You know what's funny? When you're 13-3, people just think it's all offense and your defense still sucks. Well, guess what? When you're 13-3, you're playing at home, that confidence of winning ball games makes your team better. You practice better. Everything gets better. As cliche and as weird as that sounds, it's actually completely accurate. And the fact is about Kansas City, everybody thought that they were a flawed number 1, and they were not at all with Andy Reid. And you got to give Reid so much credit. Andy Reid's going to take shit until he's able to win a championship. If Andy Reid loses to Bill Belichick with time management issues, that's all anyone's going to talk about. What do you think Dan Quinn's made the playoffs last year. Super Bowl loss. Had a lot of injuries this year. What do you think's the one talking point about Dan Quinn? Do you think it's that he had Matt Ryan as an MVP? He went 13-3, 12-4. He crushed the Seattle Seahawks, his former team, and played magnificently. He magnificently beat the Green Bay Packers by 21 en route to a Super Bowl. Do you think they're talking about that, how incredible 2016 season is? Or do you think they're talking about being up 28-3 now and blowing that game? People only remember the last result of a season. They only remember the Super Bowl. That's why Darrell Bevell and his name now going to Atlanta, that's all people remember, is Marshawn Lynch's mom complaining to Darrell Bevell about the Super Bowl. So that's what makes the NFL so damn hard. But let me tell you about my time in New Orleans, guys, as I've kind of wrapped up the playoff weekend. The weekend was terrible. Horrible games, shit games. The regular season was very, very good. This playoffs is worse than last year. And people thought that the Colts and Andrew Luck versus Mahomes would be 31-35 back and forth show. It was not. It was a dud. The Colts didn't show up, and it was a lousy football game, a lousy watch. The Rams and Cowboys, a lot of running the football. Cowboys were in it, though. So it got kind of exciting in the fourth quarter. I'd rate it like a 6 out of 10 for a playoff game. The Patriots game, unless you're a Pats fan, that was a 0. Just like the Chiefs and the Colts. So you missed divisional weekends, your time to make your hay if you're the NFL. If you were the product. That's where the product should be at its highest. And it was a freaking dud. It fucking sucked. The games were terrible. Then we had the Saints-Eagles. Saints-Eagles was a fun game. I went to the game, and let me tell you, when you go to a game in New Orleans, it is the best. So far, I've been to Arizona, Dallas Cowboys, Green Bay Packers. I think its fan environment's the best. I think the New Orleans Saints fans are some of the best fans in the entire NFL. They dress up like crazy, like Elvis Presley, like Michael Jackson. They put on, they dress like they're from the 80s in disco times. You can walk everywhere, so you walk from Bourbon Street right to the stadium. There's a pregame concert where everybody's getting hype. Alcohol is always free. And alcohol is always easy to get. And Bourbon Street, for people who haven't gone yet, it's not that intimidating. Like, I thought Bourbon Street would be very intimidating, very huge, kind of like Cancun, or I thought it would be like Amsterdam, and I thought it would just be a rage. It's mellow and it's not that scary. It's absolutely a perfect place. It's not too crowded. It's not really uncomfortable at all. In fact, it's very comfortable. There's good restaurants. There's strip clubs there, which are high end, good strip clubs. There also are just like 3 or 4. There's probably about 20 bars on the Bourbon Street. And they all have different kinds of music. Some have live music. A lot of them are with DJs, really cool settings. You go to the top of the patio there. You throw beads. Phenomenal time. The entire city of New Orleans is perfect for a Super Bowl because everything is centralized. It's not like you have to drive everywhere. You go out to Arizona and Dallas, and I love those cities, but when you're talking about a fan experience, when you're the opposing fan in New Orleans, you all roll together. In Bourbon Street, you all roll together. Near like Cafe Du Monde, you roll together during on the side streets there, and the hotels are similar, and the camaraderie is tremendous camaraderie. When you go out to Arizona or Dallas, everybody's spread out. You're either in one side of town or the other. The hotel, you have to drive 20 minutes just to get somewhere. And you don't really meet up with your fan base until you go to the game. But when you're in New Orleans, you literally walk from Bourbon Street, you walk from your hotel like 5-7 blocks, and you're at the Superdome. And it's a phenomenal city. It's not too big, and the people there were very friendly. I liked it a lot. It was a ton of fun. And the fan base, again, they play, Stand Up and Get Crunk. Like, they play that song. They say Who Dat, and it's like a hip-hop rap experience. The fans dance. They love their Saints. It's a college atmosphere with the beads, with everybody going into the game, dressing up, the whole town walking to the game, all the shops closing down when the Saints are playing. It's a communal feel. It's kind of like Green Bay. If you've ever been to Green Bay, Wisconsin, Green Bay, it's like you're literally going to a high school stadium with cars parked on lawns. But when you're going to New Orleans and you go to the game, it is like Friday Night Lights. The town shuts down. It's brilliant. Everybody loves their Saints. Breakfast places are great on game day. And tons of strip clubs, tons of girls to talk to, really attractive women, really fun time. And not too intimidating of a spot either. So New Orleans, and then the Superdome itself, immaculate, perfect field. The lighting is perfectly lit. I love the lighting. The crowd gets so loud. Every single player standing up. The best experience. And what a place to watch a football game. So much history. A beautiful place to watch a football game. Drew Brees owns that city. And I'm excited that they get to play another game. I really enjoyed my time down there. The Lattimore interception was hype. All the third downs, the Michael Thomas play, even seeing Taysom Hill run the fake punt. Memorable, great football game. The end of Nick Foles now for the Eagles. They're going to need a lot of help to get back. The Chargers, I don't know if they're going to get back ever to a 12-win record again with Anthony Lynn. Especially, this year just worked out really well for them. And the Eagles, their offensive line is older. Some are retiring. Brandon Brooks, unfortunately, gets hurt. And just a lot of question marks about these Eagles for next year. But playoffs were disappointing, man. I mean, let's look back quickly at last year. Last year, we had the opening game of Titans and Chiefs. That game was a really good game of Mariota completing the pass to himself. That football game was better than the Colts-Texans game was just okay. It was kind of a blowout. Seattle versus the Cowboys was a good game. It was on par with the Rams and the Falcons, right? Then Sunday of last year, there were some good game. I mean, the Jags and Bills was kind of a joke how bad like those two teams were offensively. It was bad. It was not that great of a watch, but it was kind of funny how bad they were. And you also had no teams that were in the playoffs playing again. Ravens and Chargers was entertaining in how bad Lamar Jackson was. I still would rate Jags versus Bills get the nod for me. And then the 4 o'clock at the end of that day was Carolina and New Orleans, which was a great football game, New Orleans winning. But the doink with Cody Parkey, that game, I'll give that the edge. But then let's look at the wild card last year. Eagles-Falcons was a hell of a game. Titans game was not very good. That was similar to Titans-Patriots was similar to the Patriots this year. Patriots and Chargers. The night game this year was actually better than the night game was last year. But Atlanta Eagles beat this game. Atlanta Eagles beat the crap out of Chiefs Colts, which sucked. 1 o'clock hour last year. We then had Jags and Steelers. Really compelling, really good game. Then in the NFC, then we had the Minnesota Miracle. So we had, literally that day, we had Blake Bortles going into Pittsburgh in an incredibly entertaining game, up, both teams scoring touchdowns at will. It was a great football game. And then we had the freaking Minnesota Miracle in the game where Drew Brees was coming back with Case Keenum. Drew Brees spectacular. Case Keenum throws it to Diggs. A classic. Two classic games. The Jags game and freaking Case Keenum doing his thing. The Jags game, the Minnesota Miracle, and then Julio Jones not getting his foot down in the end zone. That was all divisional weekend of that week. The other year, we had the game with Aaron Rodgers in the divisional weekend when Aaron Rodgers beat the Dallas Cowboys in an absolutely spectacular game. We had Atlanta-Seattle that year, which was okay. We had Brock Osweiler versus Tom Brady. And then, by the way, we had Steelers and Chiefs, which was really compelling, and Alex Smith choking again with Reed. So this was the worst divisional round, I think, ever of all time. When we're talking about the playoffs, it is the worst, and it sucks for us as football fans. Maybe the championship games will be better, but I just listed it. When you have this divisional weekend, you're supposed to get 2 great football games. The Eagles game was barely a good game. The Cowboys game, barely decent. Barely decent. The Eagles game was probably the best game. And then we had 2 games which were horrendous football games at divisional weekend. And it's not like wild card weekend was phenomenal either. These playoffs have been bad, and it's a bad omen. Whenever you say that something's going to be great, whether it's the NCAA tournament, like there's going to be so many upsets, oh my gosh, or you're talking about the playoffs, there's a lot of pressure to live up to that billing, and I'm the biggest NFL fan there is, and the product just not that good. I talk to people, and they're like, yeah, I barely watched a lot of these games this weekend. I checked in on the score, and then I'm like, it's not that good. I'm not going to waste my time getting into it. I want to just prepare for my singular game. So that's the truth for the weekend, man. But I can't believe the Cowboys' run defense was terrible. I can't believe the Colts couldn't block. These are first-time head coaches, and we got to learn first-time head coaches don't win. What's his name? Frank Reich don't win. Anthony Lynn definitely don't win, right? Doug Peterson lost. And who else was embarrassingly bad? The Colts were bad. Chargers were bad. Jason Garrett and Dak Prescott, not a lot of experience, even though Garrett's been there a while, but not a lot of experience. So, but more experience than these other guys. And it's a shame. Dallas' defense, what a real shame. What a horrible performance. The Colts offensive line. I can't believe that the Chiefs manhandled them. Everybody who said the Colts are for real, the Chiefs just killed them, and nobody expected it to be that way. Everybody expected it to be a compelling game. Everybody expected Andrew Luck to score points, and they thought Mahomes would be the difference if the Chiefs were going to win. That was shocking. It was shocking how bad the Chargers were this weekend. They were horrible. Unprepared. They sucked. Chargers all year when they beat the Chiefs. They're going to be a great team in the playoffs. They're going to win the AFC. They're the AFC frontrunner in the power rankings. They sucked. And nobody's talking about how great Tom Brady and Bill Belichick still are and that the dynasty is still impeccable. You know, people can just randomly throw out shit like, oh, the Patriots are dead. The Patriots are dead. And then they don't take any, they don't give any crow. They don't even react. They're just like, the Chargers just weren't that good, weren't prepared. Blah. People were saying that the Chargers were damn going to make the Super Bowl. I said the Cowboys would win the Super Bowl. I'm dead wrong. Dead wrong. Their defense sucked. I thought their defense was good. I thought that was the one thing we could bank on, which was them stopping the run. And C.J. Anderson going 200 yards in my face. I don't know what I was thinking. This team with Jason Garrett, I thought Marinelli and the defense was that good, but they can't play on the road. They weren't experienced enough. They weren't mentally tough enough. And I should have looked more into that Marlon Mack game and call off the farm. And I should have gave the coaching chance to Sean McVay. But I was in too deep, and I was loving the ride, and I thought the Cowboys had a great chance if they would have stopped the damn run. But apparently, they are not the better team. They could have played that game 20 more times. They would have lost 19 more times. They got dominated up front. It's not even a game where I'm pissed at the refs like the Dez Bryant game or something. That would be a real griping, wouldn't it? The Dez Bryant catch situation. So, yeah, I mean, maybe there was a face mask in the first half I can go back on. Byron Jones grabbing the face mask. The Rams were the better freaking team. Rams were the better team that day. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. Enjoyed the show. Thanks so much.